Well, it's no secret that former President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu, there was no love lost between them in their relation. How frayed did they leave American-Israeli relations, and how do you see things changing now with President Trump?
So it's undeniable that the relationship between the Prime Minister and President Obama were really terrible. They really didn't agree on much, if anything at all. The good news, though, despite all of that, was that the ties at kind of the grassroots level were still very strong. Congress still maintained a good relationship with the Israelis. The Pentagon had a good relationship with Israel's Ministry of Defense. Intelligence ties were still quite good. And so basically, a lot of the relationship remained intact, even though at the executive level, things had gotten rather messy.
And now with President Trump assuming office, many expect that the relations between the two leaders will improve. Do you see that?
I do. One gets a sense that there is just a huge sigh of relief being breathed in Israel right now, that the Israelis are just to know that there is an executive in the White House that is thinking differently about Israel's security challenges, that he is more sympathetic to the Israeli perspective right now than Obama had been, is, I think, really of great relief. There are going to be issues that come up without question. The real question is whether these things are going to be done quietly.
As we look towards Wednesday and the meeting of the two leaders, what do you think the big news will be out of their meeting?
I think the top line will be that U.S.-Israel ties have been restored to their previously warm relationship, the strategic relationship that the U.S. and Israel have long enjoyed. I think that is going to be the number one thing stressed by both men. It's important to both of their constituents, both of their supporters. They want to hear this. The Israelis, of course, are just eager to see that that the United States has Israel's back again. And Trump is, I think, very eager to show the American people that he is not Obama and that he's overturning 8 years of Obama policy.
John, do you expect to hear anything from President Trump suggesting that the U.S. Embassy move from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, or at the very least that the next ambassador to Israel might conduct diplomatic affairs from Jerusalem, officially recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital?
So it's interesting, when I was in Israel 2 weeks ago, I heard from a senior Israeli official that all of the stories that had come out up until then were not being sourced through the Prime Minister's office. There was a lot of reporting going on where people claimed to know what was happening and claimed that they had special knowledge of this issue being moved to the front burner and moving very quickly. As it turns out, the Trump administration is moving slowly. And in my opinion, that's the way to do this, to make sure that there are no security issues that could come up for the Israelis in terms of backlash from the local Palestinian population, to ensure that Israel's strategic partners in the Arab world, notably Jordan and Egypt, that they are on the same page with Israel in this regard. So the question now is, are the Israelis and the United States working together to ensure that this would be a successful move if and when it happens?
Late last month, the government of Israel announced the construction of more housing units, and the White House released a statement that seemed to show a chink in the chain of solidarity, if you will, saying settlements, quote, may not be helpful toward achieving Mideast peace. The official White House line as of now is that they haven't taken an official position on settlement activity. What does that signal to you, given the fact that everything leading up to that statement seemed to be very supportive of Israel?
Look, I think there's no question that this administration remains supportive of Israel. I think there is a question about settlements. I think that issue is likely to come up during this visit, where they will talk about specifically what kinds of settlement construction President Trump approves of and which areas he thinks may be counterproductive. So I think they're going to talk about what settlements are okay and which settlements are not.
President Trump has made it clear that he would like to try his hand at a peace deal, given his skills and his record as a negotiator. He's even appointed his son-in-law to head up that process. Do you see any kind of deal likely happening with President Trump?
A couple of thoughts on that. First is, and this is a blind spot that Democrats and Republicans have ignored in recent years, and that is that the Palestinians themselves are deeply, deeply divided. The Hamas faction in the Gaza Strip is in a civil war with the Fatah faction, which controls the West Bank. The two sides have two different governments. They have two different economies. They've got two different everything. So my advice, first and foremost, is to settle this internal Palestinian problem first. Then once you have that and you can identify who will negotiate on the Palestinian side, you've got a better chance. The question for this president is whether he's got the time and bandwidth, whether he wants to invest in this thorny conflict when there are many other issues like Iran, ISIS, Syria, all the issues that he's promised that he's going to tackle at home. I just wonder where this fits within his priority matrix.
Jonathan Chancellor, thank you for your time.
Sure.